All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 27th of March, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. I'm kind of in ill humor tonight. In what was a very exciting game in a third period that was bonkers, absolutely bonkers. You go into the third period 2-1. You don't expect the game to finish 6-5, but that's what the game dictated. Uh, but I'm agitated by the loss and the fact that another point was not snatched. Yeah, they get the point and they get the overtime loss, and it's a big point. I don't want to minimize the point. It keeps them 1 point up on the Caps, who are still 2 games in hand and 1 point back now after they got an overtime win in Detroit. But this, to me, was just a missed opportunity. Flyers needed a save from Sam Ersson in overtime there on a clear-sighted shot. They didn't get it. It's just 36 seconds into overtime when Adam Fox beats them. And I get that sometimes the games, kind of just dictate that wide open and high scoring, and you don't expect, Igor Shesterkin to have a third period like he had. I didn't expect Sam Ersson to have a third period like he had. Some of it's a little bit just on bizarre plays, but overall, it's a situation where you got to be able to lock this game down. And it just got too wide open and too crazy. Yeah, you got it to overtime. Yeah, there was a lot of resilience, but I don't feel like celebrating the 1 point here tonight when I think they should have had 2. That's it's I'm very perturbed by the outcome of this game because I didn't think it had to be that way. Yeah, it was wild. It was fun, and there was a lot of resiliency in coming back, but geez, that's a missed opportunity to wrap up this 7-game gauntlet and grab another point. They end up with 6 points in the 7 games. And if you tell me before the gauntlet if I would sign for that, I probably would have said yes, considering all the injuries on the blue line, the lack of goaltending, all those things. But it doesn't make that sting of that overtime loss last night any better for me. It really doesn't. And the worst case scenario happens in Detroit as the 3 points are awarded in that game with an overtime win for the Washington Capitals. The team that I didn't want to win more won the game, and the other team that lost the game got a point. Flyers outshoot the Rangers in the game 41-27. No scoring in the first period. Very tight game. Each team, Flyers did a great job protecting the middle of the ice in the first 2 periods. They protected the middle of the ice well. There's only really one good scoring chance by the Rangers in the first period, and it came about 5 minutes in when Lafreniere had a redirect attempt that Sam Ersson made the save on. Other than that, I thought the Flyers protected the middle of the ice, didn't really give up much, didn't give up a whole heck of a lot more in the second period, other than the Zibanejad power play goal at 15:28. Flyers were up 2-0 at that point. Scott Laughton opened the scoring when there's a high stick by a Ranger player, and they all think the play is going to be blown dead and kind of stop and start to change. Travis Sanheim recognizes it, pushes the pace, pushes the puck up the ice to Travis Konechny, who gets it to Laughton, who then goes in kind of unimpeded on Igor Shesterkin and then just beats him high glove bar down. Beautiful shot to the short side. You don't beat Shesterkin like that unless it's perfect, and it was. Flyers went up 1-0. And then on the power play, and I'm going to show the power play goal here as I'm talking about it, I loved this power play goal. This is everything I've been screaming about from the rafters all season long. All 5 players on this power play goal touch the puck. First, behind the net, it kind of starts with Scott Laughton. Behind the net moving, if we're looking at the Ranger net, coming behind the net from the right side of the net to the left side, pushes the puck to Tyson Foerster. Tyson Foerster then pushes it back to the point, or to Owen Tippett, who then pushes it right to Yegor Zamula. Everybody's moving. It's all happening circular. And then Yegor Zamula pushes the puck back over to the right side to Scott Laughton, who after he came around the back of the net, swung right over to the right side. And then he has a one-touch pass to Ryan Poehling, who's net front, and redirects it home. And the Flyers go up 2-0 on Poehling's 10th of the season power play goal. Love that power play. The movement, the motion. Had the Rangers scrambling. A guy blew a tire out by the point when Zamula kind of dips around him, and they got 2 guys caught out high because of all the puck movement. Like, that's a good power play. And all 5 guys touch it, and nobody touches the puck and carries it. It's puck on the stick, puck off. constantly putting the team defending the Rangers on the PK to make decisions. And eventually you exploit it and they get a goal. They go up 2-0. And then at 15:28, like I said, Zibanejad gets the power play goal, gets the Rangers on the board. Fox and Panarin pick up the assist. So we head to the third period. Flyers leading 2-1. Lock it down. Going to the third period, just a minute 23 in, Johnny Brodzinski gets the goal. It's 2-2. Then all of a sudden, 2:57, Alex Lafreniere picks up a goal. It's now 3-2. Now you're trailing. Not even 3 minutes into the period, you had the 2-1 lead. Now you're trailing. But then at 6:45, Travis Konechny is able to get in and beat Igor Shesterkin. I always want to say Yegor because of Zamula. It's Igor Shesterkin. He beats him low glove, 3-3. And then you give up a shorthanded goal. This is another thing that irritates me. 2-on-1 rush the other way. And Trocheck is able to pound it home on a great pass from Zibanejad. Now it's 4-3 Rangers. Trocheck's 25th of the season. Flyers answer again, though. Great play here by Morgan Frost. And not just because of the pass. The pass was beautiful. Beautiful sauce pass in the middle of the ice in the D zone to a streaking Owen Tippett, who read the play beautifully to get behind the Ranger D. Goes off the post, off the back of leg of Shesterkin and in the net, 4-4. But the reason why it's a great play for Morgan Frost is because of where he starts with possession of the puck. You want your center to be able to defend down below the dots. Morgan Frost does that. He gets this puck behind the Flyer net. That's what a center needs to do. And then he transitions it to offense so quick with that ability to have the vision and creativity, see Tippett, and then be able to deliver a sauce pass, just like the one he delivered to Joel Farabee on a breakaway a couple of games ago. He delivers an absolute beauty of a sauce pass right up the middle of the ice to Tippett. Great play from Frost. Not a good play. That's a great play because of where it started and how it all went about and what he did. So the Flyers get it tied at 4. This is 11:45 in. There's still, 8 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the game. Then at 13:59, this one's a bit of a bad luck one, as the Rangers kind of win the draw. Shot goes in, and Konechny ends up blocking it, maybe with the high back part of his ankle. It stung him good. And then it ends up right on the stick of Lafreniere. It's a broken play, and he's able to beat Sam Ersson, and the Rangers go up 5-4. And then Garnet Hathaway causes a massive pile up in front of the Ranger net. Tyson Forster comes in, picks up the loose change, and the Flyers get it tied at 5. That all happened. The Brodzinski, Lafreniere, Konechny, Trocheck shorthanded goal, Tippett, Lafreniere, Forster goal, all happened in the first 16 minutes and 29 seconds of the period. It was absolutely bonkers. I was surprised we didn't go through the rest of regulation without another goal or two. But we end regulation, game tied at 5. Flyers get a point. It's a huge point. I don't want to poo-poo the point and what it means in the standings in a playoff race, and when you just wrapped up 7 games against the teams they just wrapped them up against. Then you go to overtime, and just 36 seconds in, Adam Fox is able to beat Sam Ersson on the blocker side. I don't know if Sam lost his net a little bit, was a little too deep here, but it's a clear-sighted shot from out above the top of the circle, and Fox wins it for the New York Rangers. Final score of 6-5. Now, I know I haven't even looked on social media yet, but I'm sure people are going, why was Ryan Poehling and Noah Cates out to start the overtime? This is my opinion. I'm fine with those two starting it. They're out there to win possession. 3-on-3 overtime in the NHL is about possession. It's about getting the puck and owning it. Like you see here, the Rangers win the draw, and then they end up with the puck. Flyers never had possession of the puck in the overtime. But you're going to put out 2 of your guys out there that, if you don't get possession, can defend as well as you can to re-get the possession, and then get your offensive weapons out there. But this is 2 times now where those 2 have started in overtime, and they never got possession. So I understand the critique. That's just what the thinking is in starting those 2 in a 3-on-3 overtime, is to win possession, whether you win it off the draw or you win it by getting a stop of the other team. But all said and done, New York grabs 2 points, Flyers grab a point, and things are as tight as they get. They're as tight as it can be. I thought the Caps were out of this mix. I did not think that they would be a team that would be sitting around still haunting. By the way, the Rangers also secured a playoff spot. They now have 100 points on the season through 72 games. So here's the deal. Flyers 73 games played, 36, 27, and 10, 82 points. They're 4-4-2 in their last 10. They've lost 2 straight. The Capitals, 2 less games played, 71 games, 36, 26, and 9, 81 points, and they're 7-3 in their last 10, and then have won 3 straight games. Now, we know the Flyers schedule lets up a little bit now. The Cap schedule does not let up a little bit right now. The Caps still have a lot of tough competition. Now, that doesn't mean that just because you're not playing these teams that are top 10 in the NHL, like the Flyers just went through, that you're guaranteed to get points. You got to go out and take care of your business. And you can slip up in these games every bit as easily as they slipped up in this third period against the New York Rangers last night. Here's what the Caps have coming up. So they had the game against Detroit. Their last 3 games, they beat Carolina 7-6 in a shootout. Carolina, really good team. They beat Winnipeg 3-0. Winnipeg, really good team. They beat Detroit 4-3 in overtime. So 3 really impressive wins. Now they go tomorrow night to Toronto. Then Saturday, they have Boston at home. And then they have Buffalo, Pittsburgh. And then they go to Carolina, Ottawa, at Detroit, at Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Boston, and then in Philadelphia against the Flyers on April 16th. And by the way, they'll be on a back-to-back for Game 82. They have a game Monday against Boston on the 15th at home, and then they come to Philadelphia for their season finale on the 16th. Flyers play at home on the 13th against New Jersey, Game 81, and then Game 82 on Tuesday. So they got a couple of days between games. And it could come down to that. It could come down to that final game of the year where the Flyers are a bit more rested and the Caps are not. We'll see how that plays out. There's a lot. Look, Flyers have 9 games to go till then. Caps have 11. So there's still a lot to be determined between now and then. But Caps definitely have a much more difficult schedule. Flyers do have the Rangers on the schedule again. And other than that, that's really probably the only team, with the exception of maybe Washington in that season finale, that will be a team that has a chance for the postseason. So Flyers Montreal on Thursday, Saturday at Chicago when Connor Bedard comes to town, Monday at home against the Islanders, and then a 4-game road trip at Buffalo, at Columbus. Those games are back-to-back Friday, Saturday the 5th and 6th, at Montreal, at the Rangers again at Madison Square Garden. Then it's the New Jersey Devils and the Washington Capitals at home. So the 7-game gauntlet is over. Total of 6 points. Should have been 7. Should have been 7. Should have got that extra point in the game last night. Goaltending has not been great to the Flyers in the gauntlet when you look at some of the scores that they've given up. But when you look at the gauntlet of schedule, you look at how some of the players perform. Scott Laughton had a goal and an assist last night, so he ends the 7 games with 3 goals and 2 assists and 5 points. Travis Konechny had a goal and an assist last night. 7 games, he had 4 goals and 3 assists and 7 points. Owen Tippett had a goal and I think an assist in the game last night. He had 11 points in the 7 games. And then you look at Cam York, had 4 assists, played a lot of minutes, and I thought played well through the 7 games, didn't look overwhelmed. Tyson Forster had some really good moments. Morgan Frost was excellent in the 7 games. And it's important to see what these key players, what they're able to accomplish in those 7 games against the top teams at this time of the season. So, you know, that's the way you're going to judge these players at this point. That's why meaningful hockey was so important. So Flyers up. Again, I'm agitated by this loss because I think it was there for the taking. And while I'm happy you get the point, I think it's a huge missed opportunity that they didn't get the second point. All right, let me get to two emails that I got while I was recording the podcast. First one came from Garrett Ryan. He says, "Hey, Jason, I'm a 21-year-old from Philly. My whole life, I've loved cheering for the Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers, but have really gotten into the Flyers this season. Been listening to your podcast daily for several months now and love it." Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate that. And he says, "I'm still learning the game, but I don't quite understand the OT lines the Flyers put out. Why not put your top players out to start overtime? Frost Connect New York instead of your fourth line." That's not their fourth line. It's a mixture of Paling and Cates that they put out there. He said, "Thanks so much for the great pod. Best, Garrett." Again, I explained this before. I understand the thinking because 3-on-3 in hockey is all about possession, but you've got to get possession. And Morgan Frost is not a great face-off guy. He's a playmaker and a creative player. As soon as you get possession, you can pull back into the neutral zone or D zone and then make the change. You're also dealing with a long change, so it's a little bit more difficult. Ian emails me as well, jason.myrtetus@gmail.com. "Hey, Jason, hope you're well. I'll just start with I'm glad we got a point. I love Courts and still have trust in his decision making, but what was he thinking with that line to start OT? With Pales clearly being banged up at that, has to be better in these huge situations. No ifs, ands, or buts. Hopefully we rebound against the Habs and get some help in the standings." Ian. Yeah, look, I understand the thought process of starting with those guys. That thought process was there the other day, and they never got possession in that situation as well. If I'm going to do that, I'm probably going to put Couturier out there for the draw, try and win possession, and then try and get my skill guys on. But here's the thing, too. Couturier is having a problem playing with pace right now. 3-on-3 is all about possession and pace. You got to cover a lot of ice. It's not a perfect situation. The criticism in this situation, I see both sides of it. I do. It's easier to lean towards the sides of they made the wrong decision because it didn't work twice. So, look, you got to look at the result. It didn't work twice. I get the thinking, but it didn't work twice. Winning possession by starting with that. Two of these overtime losses, Carolina and the game last night, they never had the puck. You cannot, if you're going to put those guys out to win possession or get a stop, it's got to happen. And it didn't happen in either of those games. So in this situation, again, I understand the thinking, but the criticism is warranted. All right, I'm going to wrap it up because I'm incredibly frustrated. And I'm sure some other people are too. Like Ian said in his email, "Hey, I'm glad we got a point." I'm glad the Flyers got a point too. I just feel like it was a missed opportunity. Back at it on Thursday against the Montreal Canadiens. Cannot have a letdown. Cannot have a letdown. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll preview Flyers Habs on a brand new episode of Flyers Daily.